evening.
Give it a tap. Speak in first. Give it a, want to speak in
Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Boston and the Cambridge unit, we welcome you tonight to a conversation with school committee candidates for the Cambridge Public Schools. I suppose one could say that with 18 candidates in the running and Cambridge's unique form of ranked choice voting, I think I can safely say to all, only in Cambridge, Massachusetts would we find ourselves in this scenario. But on behalf of the League, we certainly thank all candidates who have put themselves forward to serve in this capacity. I myself am an educator, not in the Cambridge Public Schools or in Boston, but I certainly appreciate that at perhaps a different level than others may, because it is my lifelong profession, and I am very committed to it. The League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. We do not endorse candidates in any type of race, nor do we endorse ballot questions, of which we will have a plethora of them at the next election, without having done a study and a consensus. We take that responsibility very seriously as a group. We ourselves are 107 years old, the oldest league in the Commonwealth, older even than our state league. And as one bit of historical trivia, our first honorary chairperson before we were named the League of Women Voters was Mrs. Robert Gould Shaw, which for those of us in New England speaks volumes and speaks to the League's sense of justice and social commitments that we here know well when we think of the regiment that fought in the Civil War and the young leader who gave his life for that cause. So, we have a tight timetable tonight. I'm going to briefly go over the format and we will begin. We decided that we, the League, felt that another debate or forum of some type was, you've been to so many of them, the candidates have probably been out every night in the month of October. Maybe Halloween will be an exemption, I don't know. But we felt this conversation format was much more meaningful and hopefully for the candidates. And I will also let the audience know that candidates were informed if they need to leave when their time slot is finished, they certainly may do so. It is not our intent to keep people here the entire time. So please don't read anything into that other than that. Each candidate will get 4 minutes for an opening statement. That will be followed by their choice of 2 of the 6 questions that the League presented to them, and they will get a 2-minute response time. We had hoped we would have time for a 30-second closing statement, but I do need to inform candidates we cannot accommodate that due to our time constraint tonight. I hope you understand that. So we have our timekeeper right here in the audience. She will hold up the green board, not red, to indicate that you have 20 seconds left in your opening statement. Please accommodate that. She will then raise it again and ask you, and you will be asked to stop. And we will then move into 2 minutes for each of the questions. Again, Sarah will hold up the green clipboard with 20 seconds to give you a notification on that. And I, as the facilitator, if you have not stopped at that time, will intervene and we will move to the next candidate. And all candidates know the slot they have, so please, as soon as the candidate immediately prior to you finishes, be ready to move forward so that we can keep the flow going this evening. I am going to read just the one time for those who may not see the questions, what those question choices were, and then after that, I will not do that. As a school committee member, what steps would you take as an individual member to establish a working relationship with the Cambridge Education Association? Public comment time on school committee agenda is limited to 3 minutes per individual and limited to matters that are on that agenda. How would you approach engagement with the community at meetings outside of a formal meeting setting? What are your thoughts on the proposed ballot measure to approve the new city charter, which includes a provision to make the school committee chairperson and vice chairperson one of the elected school committee members? Please comment regarding your thoughts on a reasonable turnaround time for school committee members to respond to families and educators who reach out with questions and concerns. Given the school committee budget for this school year and the district's room for growth, what innovative idea do you have to accomplish this? And would you be willing to have the school committee offer an informal forum, only 2 members can be present under the public meeting law, on a monthly basis, to offer residents an opportunity to raise issues, concerns, and ideas as an additional communication tool with your constituents? At this point, I'd like to welcome David Weinstein forward. David?
Hi, I'm David Weinstein. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. I've lived in Cambridge for 24 years, and I'm a proud Cambridge Public Schools parent of an 8th grader and a CRLS class of 2025 grad. My commitment to education begins with my own public school experience. I could see disparities of opportunity in my own diverse hometown, and I became a teacher and a teacher union member. I taught in public elementary and high schools, and I've spent my career in K-12 and college education. I researched policy and teacher leadership at the Harvard Grad School of Education, and I've guided and grown a 50-state civic education program based at Brandeis University. I know how to connect innovations and ideals with classroom and community realities. We have so much in Cambridge. We do so much so well, and yet some children still fall through the cracks and disparities persist. My service on the school committee has been dedicated to solving this contradiction. We must close racial, gender, and economic opportunity gaps so that all of our children have the tools and supports they need to reach their full potential and thrive in the classroom and in life. My results: we launched free universal preschool. I co-sponsored the policy that established Algebra 1 for all in 8th grade. We switched to science and reading-based literacy instruction. We lengthened our school day, which had been one of the shortest in the Commonwealth. I sponsored our new advanced learning policy, so we identify and meet the needs of every child, including those who need academic support. Our equity goals demand that this identification and meeting of advanced learning needs is not limited to those who advocate for themselves or pay for opportunities outside of school. I'm holding our district leadership accountable for robust family engagement. I continue to speak out against intolerance in our schools, calling out racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, misogyny, and homophobia, and I supported LGBTQIA+ students, faculty, and staff. I will always stand in defense of and in solidarity with our trans and gender nonconforming students, our black and brown students, our immigrant and refugee students, and with all of our students. And I used the school committee's tools of policy. I worked with colleagues to update our hate and bias-related incident policy. And just this month, we passed a school committee policy I co-sponsored that extends protections to our trans and gender nonconforming staff that we already had in place for our students. If re-elected, we can and must effectively and efficiently use our wealth of resources to ensure that no child falls through the cracks or misses opportunities. I'm part of the core team of Cambridge leaders designing our citywide success planning system, which launched last year, and I'll say a little bit more about it in a little bit. We have just selected our next superintendent. I'll bring my experience as a teacher, a parent, and a school committee member to this transition. I secured supplementary funding from the state for our middle school visual and performing arts programs in 2 state budgets, and I'll continue to champion the arts in our schools. I'm proud of the Cambridge Public Schools, but I'm not satisfied. I ask you to vote David #1 on November 4th. Visit votedavidweinstein.com or call or email me. Thanks.
And David has chosen questions 2 and 5, so we'll start with question 2, and again, the same time in the procedure. Sarah's right there in front of you as the speaker.
Thanks. So regarding public comment time is important, but as noted in the question, it's limited, not only by time and by topic, but even with the option to join by phone or Zoom or submit written testimony. It's not a format that works for everybody, and we do need to do better, I will say, with language access. We had recently a public comment period where someone delivered a comment in Spanish and we weren't prepared. Also, not every conversation is something people want to have or should have as part of a public record. We need conversations that are less formal, can be more generative, can inform my understanding of an issue or policy without requiring people to put their personal experience into the public sphere. I do take public comment seriously. If you've attended a meeting, you'll see me scribbling notes throughout, but I don't rely on that as my extent of community engagement. I proactively engage with caregivers in the community. My phone number is listed publicly on the school committee website and my own website, and I encourage people to call, and I find a time that works for us to talk. And I engage in many other ways in my time on the committee. I visit schools, I invite a range of people to participate in subcommittee meetings, reaching out proactively to individuals and to organized groups such as the Special Ed Parent Advisory Council, Cambridge Families of Color Coalition, the Cambridge Advanced Learning Association, MBK Cambridge, others, not just when it's time to discuss their issues, but recognizing a more inclusive process leads to better results for everybody. I've been participating in events throughout our district, and I've met with students and conducted classroom observations this year at the upper schools as a member of the school climate subcommittee. And I want to say I really collaborate closely with students in Cambridge as well. Some examples when I read in the students' high school newspaper Register Forum that our menstrual equity policy, which I had been boasting about, was not functioning well in practice. I spoke with students and wrote our updated policy. And attended a student walkout several years ago highlighting gender-based harassment, misogyny, took action. Met with students, and I meet regularly with our student members and co-sponsored our policy to make sure that we were giving them the opportunity to cast non-binding votes on the committee.
Time. Now question 5.
All right. So I'm part of the core team of Cambridge leaders that's been designing the citywide coordinated success planning system that I advocated for and mentioned earlier, which is now in phase 1. The vision and the goal is that ultimately every child will have an adult navigator and a system for warm handoffs to the supports and opportunities that meet their needs, strengths, and ambitions so they can thrive in the classroom and in life. I'm excited about the work we're doing with the team at the Harvard Grad School of Education's Institute for Success Planning, which has developed a model for this that they're helping communities around the country and in Massachusetts adapt. In Chelsea, they talk about this as knowing every child by name, strength, and story. I'll continue my focus on this work as a key lever for supporting our students and ensuring that every child in Cambridge benefits from all the rich resources that are available, with individualized guidance, after-school and summer programs, mental health services, early college, internships, apprenticeships, so much more. While there are costs involved with this success planning work, it primarily is about effectively and efficiently using our wealth of resources to ensure that no child falls through the cracks or is left behind. Our lack of support to reach their potential. We have the educators, the programs, the funds, the commitments to make sure that every child grows and thrives. And it makes it even more frustrating that some kids in Cambridge don't fully benefit, even with a relatively small number of students. And that's what drives me in this work. I pushed hard for the school department to fully engage with this work in a strategic way over the course of 2 superintendents and several iterations of the school committee. And thanks to that persistence and the dedication and skill of school department and city leaders, including Kari Milner, co-director of the Cambridge Agenda for Children, Out of School Time Initiative, Nancy Tolber, executive director of the Cambridge Family Policy Council, Kim Hufford, our Cambridge Public Schools director of social and emotional learning, and Ringe Upper School principal Julie Sizer, we're truly on our way. As we finally move forward with a permanent superintendent, I'll be working to ensure that this is part of the district's upcoming strategic plan.
Time. I want to take a moment. Thank you, David.
Thanks.
And Elizabeth Hudson is the next speaker.
We ran the bar by standing, but hair looks so good. Almost sick.
You are welcome to sit.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to show me up, though. Sounds good. And I'm going to apologize in advance. I have to run right after this because I've got bedtime.
Can I begin to be here?
All right. What are we doing first? Introduction? Is this on?
It does, it's fine.
It is on? Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, there we go. I like the thumbs up from the back. My name is Elizabeth Hudson. I am, a little bit about myself, I'm the proud product of public school system in Pittsburgh. Everything I have today I owe to the public school system. I am a neuroscientist by training. I'm an engineer. I moved to Boston originally to help build an industrial robotics company. For the past few years, I've been the CTO at a biotech venture capital firm, and I've now got my own business. And my husband and I, we live on Harvard Street with our 3 sons, And we moved to Cambridge specifically for the school system, specifically for the Mandarin Immersion Program at MLK. We're really excited about that. And I'm running again for the past 2 years. I have been serving on the Cambridge School Committee as well. And I'm running again this term because I feel like we've lost the forest for the trees. We still have work to do. The purpose of schools, in my opinion, is to arm kids with the foundational academic skills that they need to compete in a modern economy, right? That's why schools are the great equalizer. They give kids the skills that they need to climb the economic ladder. And we don't do that well today. Half of our kids today are working below grade level, and 3/4 of our low-income kids, and those are the families that can't get a supplemental education outside or after school, are working below grade level. Indeed, we have a single middle school where 94% of our low-income students are working below grade level. This is a travesty, it's a scandal, and the anger, the sense of urgency we have at this moment doesn't even come close to meeting the level of importance of that moment, and that's why I'm running again.
Thank you.
And I
And
did
you
not
have
tell you
to-
ahead of time what
Yeah,
questions I
so you
chose,
just let
did
us
I?
know which 2 questions you've chosen, and then we can start.
I'm going to start with the first one, the relationship with the Cambridge Education Association. Okay. So first, the CEA is the labor union that represents most of the staff for the Cambridge faculty and staff for the Cambridge Public Schools. And first thing I want to do is kind of take a step back and talk about what does a working relationship mean? And first make the point that we need a working relationship with everybody, right? We need a working relationship not only with the CEA, but also with the district and building leadership and with the parents of the students who are in those schools, right? All of those things are important. And every one of those groups has a unique perspective. And then I want to talk about what does a working relationship actually mean? And to me that means 3 things that I've written down so I don't forget them. First, open lines of communication. This isn't some fancy academic discipline. You need to publish your phone number and your email, and you need to be open to speaking to anybody and everybody who wants to be able to reach you. Again, this isn't rocket science, it's pretty simple, and it's simple to hold people accountable. Second, both sides have to acknowledge, when we're talking about the CEA specifically, that sometimes you're going to be wrong. You're going to be blind to something, you're going to be misguided about something, you're going to be missing an important part of the story. The CEA is ultimately a political organization, right? It advocates for the number of jobs, the support for those jobs, the compensation of those jobs, and that's a really important thing that's an important piece of the puzzle that we have to have. But they do not have a monopoly on what it means to provide a good education for our students, right? Parents bring an important perspective to this conversation, but parents also don't have a monopoly. They don't understand viscerally what it means to be in a classroom teaching day in and day out, right? And building administrators often lose track of both of these things, right? What are the skills that parents are the experts in saying my kids need these things to survive or to thrive in a modern economy, right? And what does it mean to be able to teach those skills every day? And third, after and despite disagreements, we need to have a clear goal, we need to commit to a clear goal, we need to measure our progress towards that goal. That's what a working relationship means to me.
Thank you. Perfect timing. And your next question?
I think it's 5. Oh, yes, budget. All right. So the question is, it got small, given the budget and what we need to do, right, what are your innovative ideas for getting there? And I'm going to start out by saying that I don't think that money is even close to being our biggest limiting factor right now. I think our biggest hurdles are first, acceptance that we're not doing a spectacular job today. Acknowledging this isn't mean, it's just reality, and it's the first step along the path to making more progress. Second, leadership. We fail to recruit and retain great leaders. We fail to remove those who do not meet that bar. We have a great new superintendent, but principals, assistant superintendents, academic leaders and deans, this is when we're talking to you. You also need to meet that high bar. You have an outsized impact on the morale of our staff, and that has an impact on our students. And third, we focus on optics over student outcomes. I know this. Every year we graduate kids to the next higher grade who haven't yet mastered all the material for the grade that they're in, right? That is a travesty. It might be easier for that teacher in that year, but overall it is a travesty. And ironically, it makes the next teacher's job a lot harder. We have classrooms right now in our middle schools where we have kids who have a grade level span, maybe 5 to 7 grade level span of ability and preparedness. That makes the job near impossible. Teachers are the experts in differentiating instruction to kids who learn in different ways. Maybe you're a visual learner or you're a verbal learner, but no teacher can do that and teach to kids at a 3rd grade level and simultaneously an 8th grade level in an hour-long classroom. It is impossible. But we refuse to acknowledge this because we're afraid of admitting that maybe our ideas weren't that great, and we're afraid of hurting people's feelings. And when putting the feelings of adults over the outcomes for kids. And I personally think that that's wrong. In terms of what do we need to do to accomplish this, we need to focus on the basics. We need to stop putting kids in that position. We need to hire great leaders, and we need to be honest about where instruction is fantastic and where we need some help, and then figure out how we best support those educators in order to get there.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, you can begin. Yeah.
My name is Caitlin Dubé, and I'm running for school committee because I'm an experienced educator who's excited to share my expertise, but also because I'm a smart cookie and a really big systems thinker, and I know that we have everything we need right here in Cambridge to build the best schools in the world. I'm also a CPS parent to a 5th grader, and my experience on the Baldwin School Council has also informed what I bring to this role. But here's what we've got that's great. We have exceptional students, a caring and diverse community, including people like you who care deeply about our kids and the future of our world. We have incredible educators, teachers who excel at their craft and bring creativity, caring, and vast experience to their classrooms. We also have a city that supports our education system, providing financial resources, lots of them, as well as wraparound services that support the students and families in and out of our schools. Here's the other good news. We have a new superintendent, new teacher union leadership, and the possibility of a new school committee who can work together to bring about the changes we've been needing for a while now that will actually impact outcomes for kids. Here's what we've been missing. Experienced educators and systems thinkers on our school committee who are ready to shift beyond the status quo, and who can actually identify the ways to get us there by asking the right questions, to actually partner effectively with the superintendent and leadership and educators to create the lasting systems change necessary to serve all of our students in ways that we haven't yet. There's more good news. I've worked in education for my entire career. I was a longtime teacher, a high school administrator, and I have deep expertise in both teaching and educational leadership. And I've used that experience to create a career for myself where I do the exact work that we need done here in Cambridge. I help schools and districts use data effectively to create better outcomes for kids. I create innovative programming and design STEAM and project-based learning schools so kids and teachers get to experience real-world learning. I run leadership programs for students and the adults who support them, and I create curriculum that educates the whole child. Final piece of good news. We can improve our school system in Cambridge in many ways. Here are just a few. We need smaller classroom sizes. Kids learn best in relationship with their teachers, and right now we've got too many kids in our classrooms. We need to bring back a lot of evidence-based learning that we know serves kids best, like project-based learning and partnerships with our universities and the tech community. Also, reading books, learning social studies, which improves literacy, and other rich interdisciplinary learning. We need to move beyond performative family involvement and welcome families into our schools as partners. We need to expand programs like language immersion and offer other types of programs like outdoor learning, project-based, arts, etc. So every school is a school of choice. And we need to allow teachers to use their expertise and creativity to teach beyond standardized tests so that students experience the full range of learning we know is research-driven to create critical thinkers. I'm excited to bring my experience to school committee and ask for your #1 vote.
Thank you. And Caitlin has chosen questions 1 and 5. We'll begin the 2-minute timing for question 1 now.
I believe authentic relationships start with listening and co-creating from day one. And right now there's incredibly fertile ground for that work. We have a new superintendent, new CEA union leadership, and the possibility of a new school committee. This is our moment to build something different together. And that's a great opportunity to model collaborative, smart leadership. My first step would be to meet one-on-one with CEA leadership to understand priorities, not just around contracts, but around the daily realities educators face in the classroom. Beyond those conversations, I'd work to formalize educator voice on the committee. Within my first 60 days, I'd file a policy order to create a non-voting CEA seat at meetings with a standing CEA report agenda item. I'd also launch a joint CEA school committee solutions table, meetings with at least 2 committee members, the superintendent, and union leadership to surface challenges early and track progress transparently. Relationship building can't just happen at night at meetings. I'd also hold in-school office hours and walk-in talks so teachers can connect during the school day with stipends and release time so they can actually be available. And I'd revise the policy that requires all staff input to flow through the superintendent, creating direct access channels instead. Most importantly, I see negotiations not as zero-sum games, but as shared problem solving. When we align on what students and educators need to thrive, small class sizes, autonomy, resources, and respect, we can get creative together about how to make it happen.
Thank you, and question 5.
Cambridge is incredibly well-resourced. Our challenge isn't scarcity, it's coherence. If I'm thinking about innovation within our current budget, I'd start by asking, what would the best possible school system look like if we built it from scratch? Then we can identify where to reallocate resources in order to get there. Here are some concrete ideas that directly impact student success. Number 1, innovation clusters. We can create cross-school educator teams piloting integrated STEAM, arts, social studies, etc., using existing professional development budgets for shared planning time. This spreads best practices and creates opportunities for creative, interdisciplinary learning without new spending so that education is cohesive and coherent across the district. We can also expand city and university partnerships. We're surrounded by Harvard, MIT, Lesley, and incredible tech and arts organizations. Let's leverage those relationships to bring mentors, real-world projects, and resources into every school. Third, let's reimagine how we staff schools. Instead of just adding positions, let's pilot co-teaching models, looping, and grow your own educator pathways for paraprofessionals and community members. This maximizes relationship and connection while creating career ladders and keeps the community here. Finally, we have to look at what's not working. Are there contracts, programs, administrative structures where we're spending money without seeing impact? Yes. Let's redirect those funds to classroom level support, like smaller class sizes and wraparound services. My work designing schools has taught me that we don't need more money to innovate. We need more clarity, more alignment, and more courage in order to do things differently.
Thank you very much. You could come up. And what questions have you chosen, or do you want to just say them when you're
I have chosen questions 1 and 5. They seem to be popular.
Okay. All right, you may begin.
Hi everyone, I'm Lily Hapstead and I'm running for school committee here in Cambridge in order to push our district to recenter the human relationships that are at the foundation of all teaching and learning. I myself am an educator. I'm a college educator. I'm currently a visiting scholar at Harvard in the Center for African Studies. And I have more than 10 years of experience in the college classroom, primarily working with first-year college students, including multilingual learners and writers. And with that experience, I bring a unique perspective to the school committee table, having the experience of working with students on the tail end, on the other end of their K-12 journey. So what does it mean to recenter the humanity at the core of all teaching and learning? What that means to me is really recentering the relationships between our educators and students, between students and educators and families, as well as strengthening partnerships with community stakeholders from our universities, public libraries, and local museums to local business owners that want to bring students into their businesses through internships and other experiential learning opportunities. And finally, improving relationships between our educators and our administrators, our leadership, improving the relationship between our educators and our school committee and central office in particular. This is a real area of weakness right now. My campaign is really focused on 2 areas of how we do this, of recentering these human relationships. The first is really thinking about how to more equitably allocate our budgets across our schools. that in a way that centers the student-facing staffing needs on the ground. And who knows this best? Our educators. This also means we need to invest more in our many educators by increasing our paraprofessional pay. If Somerville can raise the base pay to $50,000 a year, Cambridge certainly can too. In addition, the other prong of my campaign is really about increasing stakeholder engagement. And like others, I am concerned about family engagement and engagement with community partners. But I am particularly focused on, in my campaign, on increasing educator and student engagement with the school committee itself and with the decision-making process and policy-making process that happens at our school committee table with central office. I think I'm going to leave my comments there for you all. Actually, let me just add this one last point, that I am a historian and a feminist historian, and it's very meaningful to be here today with this particular group. As a mother to sons, I think we have an important job right now to really rethink how we school our children, both boys and girls, for a more peaceful world. Okay.
Thank you, Amy. Question one.
Okay, so steps for bringing our educators to the school committee table as one way to increase or improve relations between our school committee and our educators. This is something that Caitlin just spoke about, and creating a non-binding voting seat at the literal table. I want to kind of go beyond that and sort of speak about my experience working with the Solidarity Squad. So for those who are unfamiliar with the Solidarity Squad, it's a grassroots organization of educators, caregivers, and community stakeholders here in Cambridge who came together a little over a year ago in order to start thinking about how we could build more trust between our families and educators in a district culture that felt, for many of us, very stifling and working very hard to actually keep us apart. And so I raised that experience working in the Solidarity Squad in partnership with educators because it was a really wonderful experience for seeing how we build the trust that is necessary for more effective policymaking at the school committee table. And so I want to bring that experience working with the Solidarity Squad, through which we created a people's budget. We hosted a forum that brought in many stakeholders from around the district last November, at which we developed this people's budget for the district. And it was an incredible display of what is possible in terms of partnering with our educators in new ways and bringing that partnership to the work of the school committee. So as a school committee member, I'm eager to build on the work of the Solidarity Squad that is fundamentally about building trusting relationships that includes our educators at every stage of the policymaking process. Before, during, and after implementation, educators must be involved in policymaking.
And question 5.
Okay, so school committee budget. I assume that what you meant with this question is the district budget more broadly. Okay, I'm actually going to talk specifically about the school committee budget because the school committee annually has $100,000 a year to spend. And right now, all I know that money is being spent on is catered dinners before meetings. This is not a slight to the need for eating before meetings. This is important to be nourished. But that's a large budget that we could be doing a lot with. And one of the things that I think we should be doing with that budget to increase stakeholder engagement in our policy making is use it to pay stipends to members of the public, educators, families, and community partners who want to be engaged in the work of creating policy for our district. Bringing them into our subcommittees. Right now, our subcommittees are not working the way they ought to be. Many of them don't meet regularly. Alex Bowers spoke about this recently at another forum, and it's a critical piece, as Alex said, to the work of the school committee and how we actually create policy, where the policy making work happens. So let's use some of this $100,000 budget that we have annually to pay stipends to the experts in the community. Our educators, our families, our students, we need a student advisory council. Pay stipends so that everyone in the community can afford to volunteer their time to be involved in the policy-making process that dictates the future of our district. I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Ian here?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Yep, you can start. Yeah, you can start.
Thank you. So, my name is Ann Coburn. I am running for school committee because I want to protect our kids, and especially our most vulnerable kids. Not just now, in the time of Trump, but in the future by giving them the shield of a fantastic education. In September 2019, me and my family were lucky enough to find a sanctuary of our own in Cambridge at Kennedy Longfellow soon after our daughter had received an inadequate IEP for dyslexia from New York City. And we were facing impossible choices about private school tuition and suing the New York City DOE. But at Kennedy Longfellow, she found the teachers she needed to thrive. Then in 2024, after years of systemic neglect, the school committee voted to close down that school. So, now kids are dispersed throughout the school district, and Cambridge Public Schools must act as a sanctuary for all. But eliminating barriers to access so everybody can access what we have to offer means that we have to grapple with issues like our enrollment policies, our transportation policy, and ensuring a more accountable school committee. And by meeting each kid where they're at with the reading curriculum tailored for multilingual learners, by expanding the high school extension program for non-traditional learners into middle schools, and by insisting on the dream of excellence for all. But I also believe that we cannot fully solve or define our problems without talking to the people experiencing the district's choices firsthand. Folks like caregivers at all schools, teachers in the classrooms and the students themselves, and the CEA. As a media maker and a documentarian, I am really good at asking questions. And now I am asking for your #1 vote. And I am very grateful for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. And what questions have you chosen?
I have chosen 3 and 5.
3 and 5. Begin.
Okay. So I think I'm the first one to answer this. But so my thoughts on on the revisions to the city charter. I love it. I think this is a big deal. It's a big difference. And right now, the mayor automatically serves as the chair of the school committee. I looked at the rules and it says that that role shall preside at all meetings of the school committee, regulate its proceedings, and decide all questions of order. The chair appoints all members of subcommittees. And that is a lot of power, right? That power becomes more and more obvious the more school committee meetings you attend. And as of now, the current structure means that the chair may have a variety of other fish to fry than a single-minded desire to work for the good of the kids' educations. It could be some great, necessary, and worthy fish, but they're not the fish that I specifically want to fry. I think that our kids deserve a focused school committee with a focused chair.
Thank you. Next question.
So this is, again, the budget question. I'm going to quote from the city manager's October 6th letter to the city council, as well as a 33-message deep listserv chain from yesterday and today. So in FY26, this is the letter from the city manager. we are beginning to experience tangible impacts of a changing macroeconomic environment and federal policies. Federal actions have added further uncertainty to our economic outlook. To address these concerns, we established targets to moderate budget growth for FY26, as well as for 2 future years. So language like that makes me really twitchy because I grew up in Cleveland. That's a Rust Belt. I know what a bankrupt city looks like. And so while I am a little sensitive, it is not because I want us to be more efficient for efficiency's sake. It's because I want CPSD to be able to keep and expand the services that we should already be offering, and offering well. And right now, as a district, we keep on adding stuff on top of other stuff. We never check what works and what doesn't. We don't know when we already have the resources, and therefore we don't use what we have intelligently enough. And quite frankly, I think we can do better because we have so much we need and want to get done. Asking and starting from the place of how can we use our existing resources more effectively and to the benefit of all seems like a great place to just begin. And I think it will take a very full, honest, and accurate look at what it will take to get there. A fearless one. And a genuine debate about what trade-offs are necessary to successfully achieve our goals. Those could be increased taxes. They could be something else. I don't know. I think that we need to have the conversation because we have really important goals. Goals like appropriate pay for our paraprofessionals. Goals like expanding the HSEP program into middle school. I think that we should start by grappling with facts.
Thank you very much. Any questions? I have one or two. You may begin.
All right. Hi, my name is Jess Getz, and I have to first say that I'm really excited to be here. I've been relying on the League of Women Voters since I started voting almost 30 years ago, so this is like a full circle moment for me. So I am a Cambridge Public School parent. I've been a Cambridge Public School parent since 2016. I have a 7th grader and an 8th grader at the Darby Vassal Upper School, and I've lived in Cambridge for 14 years. I work part-time as an epidemiologist, which means that I have 20 years of working with data, with analyzing and understanding data, and I'd be really thrilled to bring those skills to the school committee. I think that people who know me would describe me as a hard worker, and I have been a reliable, focused volunteer in all school communities that my kids have been a part of. I've been everything from a library bookshelfer to an event planner and a room parent coordinator, and I even built the website for the Solidarity Squad that Lily was talking about earlier. I am committed to bringing humility to the school committee. I think it's really a wonderful thing that we have many candidates with educational credentials who are running. I don't have that, and I'm okay saying that, and relying on the many educational experts that we have within Cambridge and within our district to make the best decisions. It is really, really important to me that school be about more than academic achievement and future earning potential. I believe that school is about preparing kids for life, which means teaching untestable skills like critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and executive functioning. It means teaching kids how to be thoughtful and engaged citizens who can lead productive and fulfilling lives. Yes, a large part of this is making sure that they can read and know basic math and science skills, but I will always advocate for a whole child approach to schooling. My #1 priority for the school committee is good governance. I am running because I believe I can contribute to making the school committee more democratic, effective, and in better alignment with the lived experiences in our schools. Over the last decade, I have not found the school committee to be particularly accessible, accountable, responsive, or transparent. It is frustrating to me that many of the conversations and debates that we are having today are the same ones we've been having for 10 years. So in Cambridge, we have a lot of conversations about equity. And I believe that a key way to help our school committee, our school system work towards equity is through processes that increase access and encourage the engagement of all CPS stakeholders.
Question one?
All right. Question one. Okay. I love our educators. I am honored to be endorsed by the CEA, and I think a large part of why I've been endorsed is because I've always stood by teachers and I respect what they do. That being said, it doesn't mean that I would never question teachers, and it doesn't mean that every teacher in our district is outstanding. I just think that having a solid working relationship with the union means that we need to be curious, respectful, and honest. So by curious, I mean regularly, always checking with educators when we are making decisions that will affect their day-to-day lives. We can do this by visiting schools, by inviting teachers to answer questions both in private and at public meetings, and as other candidates have spoken about, giving the CEA some representation at the school committee table. We simply cannot make decisions about curricula and schedules without including the proverbial boots on the ground. To be respectful is to understand that teachers are well-educated professionals. They know about brain development, age-appropriate lesson planning, effective classroom management, as well as the subjects they teach. And the number one thing that I have heard teachers say they need is time. So we need to respect them enough to believe that they know what they need, and the ways in which the many new tasks and initiatives they're given take away from that one precious resource of time. And when we are being honest, we need to be honest about how our teachers are doing. And for that, we need a fair and agreed upon method for evaluating educators. If we can agree on this, then we can have a solid, honest working relationship with the union, even if sometimes that might mean letting teachers go. These three ideas also apply to contract negotiations. So when we're curious, we need to find out what they're doing, what they need, and where there are points of collaboration. To be respectful, we need to set up a negotiation schedule in advance and stick to it. And to be honest, we need to stick with the limitations that the city has given us, or be willing to go back to the city and talk about getting more.
Okay. And next was question two.
Question two, okay. I am going to do a little mushing here between question 2 and question 6 because I think they are they're kind of connected. So, like I alluded to before, a major motivator for me to get into the race is the lack of democracy on the current school committee. I am committed to bringing good governance to the school committee, and a big part of that is being accessible and responsive to the electorate. First, I would say that the rule regarding only making public comment on agenda items is totally changeable. And I do believe that in this election, we could get enough challenging candidates in place to change that rule. As for engagement outside of the formal meeting, this is a really interesting question while we are all campaigning, writing newsletters, knocking on doors, having house parties and meet and greets. And I don't see why that kind of outreach has to automatically end after November 4th. I would commit to continuing, perhaps not at the same pace, but those methods could still work. I currently hold virtual office hours weekly, and I would continue to do so. I believe that school committee members should be visiting schools and attending school council meetings. I think that having school committee presence at public events around town sends a signal that we are here and we want to meet you where we are. As for a monthly informal forum, that is another answer to question 2. And I have been advocating for this during my campaign. I call them listening sessions, but the idea is the same. I understand the argument that if public comment wasn't limited to agenda items, that meetings could take even longer. I understand it, but I don't fully support it because I believe that democracy is messy and even sometimes boring and long. And if we stick to that rule, we absolutely have to make space for public comment on non-agenda items. I believe public comment is unique because when issues are aired publicly, they allow those who aren't speaking up on an issue to see that they aren't alone.
Thank you. Arjun Jacoma, welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Good evening. My name is Arjun Jacomar. I'm an attorney, a public servant, the father of a Cambridge 4th grader, and the son of immigrants to this country. I'm running because I believe public education is a public good. My father in 1968 came from India to Stillwater, Oklahoma to attend a public university. 12 years later, he came here to Cambridge to teach at Harvard. My family lived the American dream because of our national commitment to offering equality public education to all students, including students of color, including students from non-traditional backgrounds, and including students born in other countries. And I'm running because I feel there are important voices not being heard in this district, and that engaging those voices is a key way to combat achievement gaps, which is the most important thing affecting this district and most districts in the United States. Beating achievement gaps means having a deep understanding of the structural forces that produce them. Inequality, housing insecurity, food insecurity, and differing early education opportunities. It means engaging families as partners in policymaking, and it means treating educators as experts in education. And you hear regularly from families and educators that they want smaller de facto class sizes and more educators in classrooms, especially in the early grades. This can be critical to narrowing achievement gaps and allowing every kid to thrive. We know from the research that kids are arriving at school with pre-existing gaps. We should address them at the source. So I would ensure at least 2 full-time educators at all CPS classrooms through 2nd grade, so that when kids come to school with skills gaps, we can get them the coaching and interventions they need to get caught up by 3rd or 4th grade. To do this, we need school committee members with strong convictions, but also curiosity. Members who can fight for their principles, but who know how to forge alliances and achieve compromises. As a lawyer, I fought injustice for many years. I fought the first Trump administration on immigration, government transparency, voting rights, and their attempts to overturn the 2020 election. During the Biden administration, before I entered public service, my pro bono practice focused on homelessness and protecting access to abortion. I represented Planned Parenthood of Montana in litigation, and I advised several abortion funds post-Dobbs. And I also worked with the Commonwealth to preserve access to child care subsidies for needy low-income families. I know how to fight for a client's interest, and also how to bridge gaps and resolve disputes. Those are the principles and skills that I will bring to the school committee.
Thank you. And you
So I'm answering questions.
chosen 1 and 6, so you may
Yes.
begin.
So I currently have a good relationship with the CEA. They have endorsed and supported my campaign along with those of 5 other candidates. Jane, Jess, Lily, Caitlin, and Lisa, who's not here yet, but I think is coming. And as Carrie pointed out earlier, I married into a union family as well. I think they've endorsed us and me because they know that I will listen to them. Not just to leadership either, but to the rank and file. They know that I care deeply about educator working conditions and that I believe that educator working conditions are student learning conditions. And it's a false choice to pit them against each other. If elected, I'll aim to continue this good relationship. First, as others have said, I will support a non-voting membership for the CEA president. I think that the school committee has treated the CEA president very poorly in the past, and I look forward to welcoming the current president to quite literally sit at the table. Because, as the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. But I also want to see members of the rank and file presenting as part of the agenda. I think the school committee should hear directly from more line educators from schools across the district. I want to hear from educators themselves as to how they're experiencing the curriculum, what is going well and not going well in their school buildings, so on and so forth. And I want my colleagues to hear them too. And I think, again, as Jess pointed out, that actually being present in school committees, in school communities, engaging with and asking questions of educators is just as important as having them at school committee meetings. Finally, I think the CEA knows and should know that I fully support a pay increase for paraprofessionals to match Somerville's. I want their members to be paid a living wage. It is the least we can do. I know this is a very important issue for the CEA, and I will be their ally in this fight.
And question 6.
Regarding an informal forum, I think this is a fantastic idea. I would, and this relates to one of the other questions regarding how to approach community engagement outside of formal meetings, as Jess pointed out as well. I would also suggest a slight modification to this question, that these forums be held in a different ward of the city or at a different school, every month. Because I think that one of the areas where the school committee can really improve is to be responsive to constituents and to the community. Not just to be available, to have your phone number available online, but to be proactive and to really listen to stakeholders. You get some of that by being available. You get some of it by holding office hours, by responding to constituent emails, things like that. Not all members do that, but many candidates are committed to doing so, including me. But if you want to do really deep community engagement, it's not enough just to make yourself available. When you do that, you get a self-selected population who talk to you, who opt in to discussion. You get people who already feel like they have a voice and they can use it. If you want deeper community engagement, you have to go meet people where they are. To be proactive, to go into school communities and city communities, to ask questions, and to listen carefully to the answers you get. Visit schools, sit in on classes, talk to caregivers, talk to teachers when their bosses aren't around. And so I think that the school committee committing as a body to having such a 2-member forum with a rotating cast of members at various places across the district is a really positive step in that direction. Because this isn't something just 1 or 2 or 3 members should commit to doing. Everyone should consider deep community engagement as part of the job description. So yes, I strongly support this idea, and I would add that we should ensure that we're visiting different parts of the city and different school communities when we do it.
Thank you. Yes?
Jane, sorry.
I got one to say. Sorry, I think that's okay. Yeah. Okay, you can begin, and Jess has chosen questions 1 and 2.
Jane.
Jane.
Yeah. Oh, that's Jane. Oh,
Yeah.
Jane.
I'm
Oh.
Jane, yes.
Oh, I thought, I called Jessica, right?
You did, but she already went.
My mistake, I
That's okay.
apologize. Apologies.
I'm
Jane
Jane.
Hershey. I apologize.
Jane Hershey.
So we'll start your time now.
Okay. My name is Jane Hershey, and I'm running for Cambridge School Committee. I'm a Cambridge public school parent. My 2 daughters graduated from CRLS in 2011 and 2015. I'm also the founder and former director of the City Sprouts School Garden Program in Cambridge Public Schools. In 2001, I led the effort to build schoolyard gardens in every Cambridge elementary school. And then I worked with the city and with our schools to ensure that every new school building would have an outdoor learning garden. And I'm really looking forward to visiting the Tobin this Saturday and seeing that new City Sprouts garden in that school. I'm proud of all of those gardens, but I'm even more proud that since 2001, City Sprouts project-based learning program has gotten thousands of children outside learning about the natural world around them. I no longer lead City Sprouts, but I'm still working in the nonprofit field as an interim executive director, leading nonprofits in Boston going through a leadership transition. I love Cambridge schools, but the issues facing our schools today are daunting. For instance, the percentage of Black students meeting or exceeding expectations in math is almost 50 points lower than their white counterparts. This is not a new issue. I remember this issue when my daughters were just first starting school 25 years ago. But it's persisted for decades, and the district's growing budget has not lessened the gap. In fact, the MCAS scores released this fall, the racial achievement gap in Cambridge Public Schools has widened since the pandemic. So we're both celebrating that the scores have gone up overall and holding that terrible news that our one group in particular has sunk even lower. Their achievement has sunk even lower. And our failure, not theirs. A second challenge facing Cambridge Public Schools is how extremely difficult it is for families to access the district's special education services for the students who need them. Since I began my school committee run in July, I've knocked on almost 7,000 doors, still going, and I've had more than 800 conversations with folks. And a frequent topic that I hear is how difficult and painful it's been for families to get their children the special education services they need and deserve.
And Jane has chosen questions 1 and 4.
Also, question one, along with everyone else. The biggest challenges facing our schools, maybe all of the issues facing our schools, cannot be solved without a true collaborative effort between the school committee, the Cambridge Education Association, the teachers union, and the superintendent. I believe Cambridge can significantly reduce, if not close, that racial achievement gap I was just talking about in our students' English and math achievement, and transform the way families access the district's special education services for those who need them. But not if the school committee maintains an antagonistic stance with the CEA, and that's why a sea change is so very critical. What I would do as an individual school committee member toward the goal of building a positive partnership with the CEA is first to publicly acknowledge the union's role in raising up teachers' concerns. For example, about the push for higher math in middle school grades without also having a plan for all students to access it. Or about the past 2 superintendent searches with minimal teacher input in the process. Second, I would propose forums at each school for all school committee members to hear directly from teachers. The union represents an important collective voice, and it's also critical for school committee members to hear the voices from specific school communities. These forums will help to build school committee members' capacity with the third step I would take, to flag policy issues brought before the committee that have particular relevance to teachers. These are just foundational steps I would take to start building trust between the school committee and the CEA before contract negotiations begin, and I would work to continue these practices after contract negotiations as well.
Thank you. Question 4.
Also carrying on a tradition here, I want to build on what other candidates have said, which has been great. As soon as possible is my answer to how soon we should respond. But I also want to actually push back on the implication in this question that school committee members' only responsibility is to respond and not to proactively engage, as previous people have said. Holding office hours is great, and it doesn't replace actually showing up and reaching out. The bigger question I feel that we should be asked is, how are we planning to continue to build those relationships with families and teachers beyond our personal spheres? School committee members have an obligation to build a deeper relationship with families and teachers than a response turnaround question implies. Certainly I will respond to families and teachers who reach out. I would also begin to get to know the school community in our district, planning visits each week to school events open to the community or where I was invited. For instance, student music performance, garden cleanups, student fashion shows, math game nights, school council meetings, sports events, and theater productions. These are places where school committee members should be and should be seen. I would participate in Caregiver Academy workshops for parents, Special Education Parent Council, CPAC events, workshops on welcoming schools regarding our LGBTQ students and staff. We should be familiar and welcoming faces across our 12 elementary, 4 upper schools, and 3 high school programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. And Carolyn's going to be answering questions 3 and 6, and the floor is yours.
Caroline, thank you.
Caroline.
Good evening. I'm Caroline Hunter. I am a parent of a K-12 student, a retired educator, former vice principal at Cambridge Ranger Latin. And in 1986-87, as a high school teacher, along with 3 colleagues, we noticed that our sports assemblies were diverse, and our honors, not noticed, but acknowledged that our honors assemblies were not diverse at all. We did the first statistical report on performance for students at Cambridge Ranger Latin High School called the Concerned Black Staff Report. It was a tale of 2 cities, where white students get a classical education, black and brown students and poor students are not getting the same quality education. We made significant achievements with that report. Dr. Robert Peterkin added algebra to the 8th grade. We added a parent liaison to the high school. We changed the scholarship program, and foreign language was added to the middle schools. Those gains have dwindled again, and that's one of the reasons why I ran for school committee in 2021. I lost by 106 ranked votes, said I had done my civic duty, and then a member resigned in November. I assumed that term for 1 year and then ran for re-election in 2021, and I'm asking for your #1 vote. I'm currently the vice chair of the school committee. My educational background is that I'm a trained chemist, research chemist. I have 2 masters in education, one in adult education from Antioch Institute, and one from Harvard Graduate School of Education in administration and planning. As a teacher at Cambridge Ranger Latin, I taught college algebra, SAT prep math in the day and in the evenings, was a club advisor, an avid teacher, and a student government advisor. I ran clubs and activities for the high school. As vice chair of the school committee, I supervise the school committee staff, assign subcommittee roles to the school committee, meet with the mayor and the superintendent before every school committee meeting. I was budget co-chair for 2 years, and our budget was praised by parents and by the CEA in the last cycle. I'm the school committee representative on the Family Policy Council. That is a group of care providers that meet with the youth in the city to try to improve access to students both in school and to services throughout the city. I was also on the school council ad hoc committee with Member Weinstein and a member of the governance subcommittee. As a member of the school committee, I was a participant and a representative of the school committee on 3 contracts for the paras, the clerks, and safety specialists. My goals this year are around 3rd grade reading, to see that all of our 3rd grade readers are on task, to provide them with rigorous targeted support, and to make sure that all students are performing on grade level. And my second goal is accountability, performance reviews, and evaluations for all staff. As a school committee member, we've introduced universal pre-K. We've hired a new superintendent. We've been responsive to the Caregiver Academy. Just tonight I attended the Caregiver Academy earlier program on IEPs. Thank you.
Okay, and your question in the time?
Yes, on question 3, I oppose the change to the Charter Review Committee because even though it's been stated that the changes are very insignificant for the city, the change in having the school committee vote for the chair is significant. It's very important to have the mayor to have a statutory responsibility to the children of the city of Cambridge and a responsibility to work with the school committee. Operationally, even though there was a 1.5-year study done by the Charter Review Committee and the City Council, none of those individuals outreached to the school committee to discuss the impact of what this would mean for our operations. There are many overlapping services where the mayor's resources around immigrant services, safety, traffic, parking, parks have influenced the kind of operational success that we've had as a school committee. So I urge you to vote no on the question, on this charter review question.
Okay, and your next question?
I support informal meetings by the school committee, but I think there's some conditions that should be applied to that. It should be for the goal to increase broad participation of all citizens and caregivers. The meetings should rotate between school communities, either in individual schools or create school zones, so over the course of the 9 months, members would have a chance to visit school committee. We must have the technology so that the meetings could be hybrid. We must have the resources so that there are increased efforts for outreach. We must have translation services. We normally provide childcare and food at meetings, but I would look to increase broad participation so that we would increase a significant number of people to be able to attend both in person and by hybrid to these kinds of meetings. Thank you. And thanks to League of Women Voters for the opportunity.
Thank you. Judge bias for any misconduct. That's it. Welcome.
As a mother of 2 children in our public schools, one of my children is a quick self-motivated learner and the other is neurodivergent, navigating the IEP process. I've also previously homeschooled both of them for several years, giving me first-hand experience as a teacher with diverse learners. Seeing the moment a child understands something, gains confidence, becomes independent, and shows kindness, that spark, that's what I want every child to have. Over 17 years ago, I came to Cambridge from Sweden to continue my postdoctoral work at Harvard Medical School. I focus on what children need to thrive, academically, socially, emotionally, in their mental well-being and essential life skills. Through my experience as a parent, educator, and nonprofit organizer, when I say my platform is supporting all children, I speak from lived experience, not theory. Every child deserves support and every decision must center on that. Here's how I want to make that happen. First, close opportunity gaps. Our district faces a long-standing achievement gap. To solve it, we need to leave behind the one-size-fits-all approach. Every child grows differently and needs the right support to thrive. That means flexible instruction, meaningful assessments, and strong support for our teacher and staff. Second, joyful hands-on learning. Learning should spark curiosity, creativity, problem-solving, not just test scores. Every child deserves a path that meets them where they are, with hands-on, real-world experiences that connects lessons to their lives. Imagine a student discovering a passion because the lesson felt meaningful. That's the kind of learning I want for every child. Third, strong partnerships. Schools succeed when families, educators, staff, and communities work together with open communication and meaningful dialogue. My nonprofit experience helped me gather people, work together, turns idea into action, and make sure plans lead to real results for every child. By listening, collaborating, and sharing ideas, we can make decisions that truly benefit every student. I was born and raised in Malaysia and have lived in 5 countries across 4 continents. I understand what it feels like to adapt to new systems, navigate change, and appreciate diverse perspectives. This global experience, combined with my life as a mother, educator, and organizer, is the strength I bring into the school committee. When I started the campaign, I had 2 goals. First, to bring forward ideas that had been overlooked, like project-based, experiential, and joyful learning. I'm proud some of these ideas are now part of the conversation across this race. Now, my second goal is simple, to turn our shared vision into real action. With your vote, we can make this vision a reality for every child in Cambridge.
Thank you. And what questions have you chosen?
3 and 5.
3 and 5. So you may begin question 3.
Yes. This is an extremely important question, but so far it hasn't been widely discussed in Cambridge. I want to take this opportunity to raise awareness. Right now, the mayor is selected by the city council and by default serves as chair of the school committee. This means the mayor is not directly elected by all constituents. So far, in past cycles and this one, city council candidates have rarely addressed public schools issue. From listening to forums and reviewing their websites, when they do, the focus is often limited to access like universal pre-K to after-school programs, leaving many larger issues unaddressed. This disconnect between the city and our schools can affect the efficiency of decision-making for students and staff. To address this, I propose that the chair and vice chair of the school committee be rotated among committee members and elected by the committee itself. This ensures accountability for all members and strengthens the committee's independence in representing our schools while maintaining coordination with the city council. Finally, this ballot question affects not only the school committee, but also broader city operations to help voters make informed decisions and reflect the distinct interests of constituents. It can be helpful to consider them the separate impacts on the school committee and the city.
Thank you. And question 5. Right.
Right now, we often take the one-size-fits-all approach, like buying 7,000 shoes in one size and asking all the students to wear them. Most won't fit. This illustrates the opportunity gap in our school. Students these days, have very different needs, but resources and instruction are often uniform. While we frequently discuss the adopted budget, we rarely examine the end-of-year financial report to see where funds were actually spent. These reports are not publicly available, and expenditures are scattered across documents, making it difficult to see the real impact of our spending on students. My innovative idea is to create a student-based support system that combines responsive teaching with coordinated community partnerships. Many assessments give only scores and numbers, overwhelming teachers without showing much which concepts students have mastered or where they struggle. Through direct observation and responsive instruction, teachers can address needs more efficiently. At the same time, we have underutilized community resources. Local nonprofits and institutions offer free programs that are often turned down or ignored. Coordinating these programs with classroom instruction through thorough and thoughtful dialogue with educators, caregivers, and community partners would extend enrichment opportunities for all students. We would also gather regular feedback from teachers, parents, students, and community partners to guide resource allocation and evaluate existing programs before adding new ones. This ensures that every intervention, academic, socially, emotionally, is targeted, effective, and sustainable. By combining responsive teaching, community support, and thoughtful evaluation, we can close opportunity gaps, strengthen classroom support, and ensure every student receives the instruction and enrichment they need to thrive. Thank you.
Jose? You go by Jose or your own?
It's a Luis.
Okay, and what questions have you chosen?
I've chosen question 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Okay, you can begin.
Yeah, thank you. And good evening, League of Women Voters. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's an honor to stand before you as a candidate for re-election to the Cambridge School Committee. Serving on the Cambridge School Committee has been one of the greatest responsibilities of my life. In the past few years, I've had the privilege of helping our schools manage a once-in-a-lifetime crisis, while also focusing on the ongoing work of building a stronger, more equitable district. As chair of the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee, I work with the community to create the district's COVID health and safety manual, which allowed our youngest and most vulnerable students to return to our classrooms sooner than many districts. When families were anxious about the closure of the Kennedy Longfellow School, I led conversations that reassured them that a new school would be open after renovations. I have pushed for accountability. For example, I was a strong voice advocating for a national search for a superintendent. And because I supported the acceleration of math in high school rather than middle school, I have advocated that we make sure that we track the impact of our new policy on all of our students. On the budget side, I've helped shift the conversation away from, quote unquote, just new initiatives to making sure that we actually evaluate our programs, adapt when needed, and use our resources wisely. So who am I? My commitment to education is personal. My parents in Mexico believed education was the most important inheritance they could give me and my brother. That commitment allowed me to study at the University of Pennsylvania and earn a master's from Columbia University, and build a career in community development finance. My wife and I have lived in Cambridge for nearly 25 years, raising our 2 sons in Cambridge public schools. This community is our home, and I want every child here to have the same kind of opportunities my family has had. So why am I running? I am running because there's a lot of important work still to do. We need to support the next superintendent and hold ourselves accountable to clear district plans. We must close opportunity gaps by expanding high-quality programs, ensuring every family feels heard, and making sure all of our schools are schools of choice. I want to see more bilingual education, more experiential learning, stronger extracurricular opportunities in middle schools, and better use of data to guide our decisions. And I want our school committee itself to model the respect and accountability we expect from our students and staff. So in closing, friends, none of this work happens alone. It happens when community comes together, shares ideas, and holds each other accountable. Please consider joining my campaign by volunteering, hosting a meal, or meet the candidate coffee, or making a donation. On November 4, I ask for your number one vote so we can continue building a school system where every child in Cambridge has the opportunity to succeed.
Okay, and question 1, timing will begin now.
Yes, regarding question number 1, just for background, in the past I've been meeting with the president of the CEA on a regular basis. We meet for coffee, we meet for a meal, and it's a way to just get to know that person, understand what are the challenges that they're most concerned about, and have that top of mind when we actually discuss it at school committee. So I would plan to do that with the new president as well. Also, before COVID, it was normal for the president of the CEA to join the school committee at the back to have a meal before the meeting started. That stopped with COVID, and it hasn't restarted. So that's something that I will try to do to make sure that we have that time to, again, reset before every meeting.
Okay, and question 2.
Yeah, so school committee meetings are meetings for the school committee to discuss issues. They're not meetings to hear from the public in detail. There's public comment, but they're not designed to have a conversation with the public. That said, we do have ways to do that. One of them is through the subcommittee meetings. Subcommittee meetings are less structured. You can invite more people, and you can actually have a bit more dialogue with the public. The other one is roundtables. School committee members can call for roundtables on any subject, and in a roundtable we can invite a lot of different people from the community, including teachers and educators in general. And those conversations then happen with the people that you invited, not necessarily with the district that usually is the people that sit in the school committee meetings. So those are just some examples.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wait, it means you're out. Usually stop talking.
And when you raise it,
Very passive aggressive.
and when you just raise it, it's 20 seconds.
I was going to address questions 2 and 6. Yes.
Okay, Alex has chosen questions 2 and 6, and you may begin your time now.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having us here today. I'm Alex Bowers, and I have 2 daughters who are currently sophomores at CRLS. So ever since they were enrolled in the Cambridge system back in 2014 in JK, I've been very involved in my kids' schools. So I volunteered with friends groups, I have helped with book fairs and the weekend backpack program. Also, I volunteered with Food for Free. I'm currently on the CRLS School Council, which is the 3rd council that I've been elected to. And I've also worked on different initiatives within the district, including the revisions to the school council handbook. I was on the working group under Robin Harris for that several years ago. And I also authored the CRLS Family Guidebook, which was distributed to to 9th graders this past year as a way to help them understand the opportunities at the high school. I also was a reporter for the Cambridge Day newspaper for 5 years, so I covered the schools, focusing on education, and it's very interesting to be on the opposite side of the table in terms of being a parent versus being a candidate versus being a reporter. So with all these experiences, as a parent, as a volunteer, as a reporter, I think I can really draw together different viewpoints in the community and help the district expand on its successes. CRLS is amazing, it's like a small college, but also on its shortcomings. The achievement gap begins so early. By 3rd grade, there are such stark divisions. I think that's really something that we need to address. And as a school committee member, I would focus on working with the greater community to set policies that enable our students to take advantage of the academic and artistic and athletic opportunities that we have in our schools. We really need to set high academic expectations, provide support so that students can achieve success, and really foster a welcoming and inclusive environment for our students and families. And family engagement is the key, in my opinion. We need to ensure that families trust educators and administrators to provide what their kids need when they need it. And this can be IEPs, diagnostic testing, academic supports, across the entire spectrum of what children need. And I believe that if you all elect a collaborative, thoughtful, and innovative school committee, we can make it happen.
Thank you. Question 2?
Question 2. Okay, this is how I would approach engaging the community at meetings outside of the formal school committee meetings. And the limit on public comment. I don't think that public comment at school committee meetings is always that effective. The 3-minute limit is too short. Comments aren't always picked up on during discussions that the committee has. And public comments are not recorded in the meeting minutes in any detail. So I don't think that they have a lasting effect on the policy debate. But there are a number of subcommittees, as Jose Luis and Lily mentioned earlier. And I think that's really where families, students, and the community can come together to discuss issues, because they are very open, as Jose Luis said, and the ideas can be brainstormed, they can be dissected, they can be debated in these subcommittees. And I think that they are underutilized because in the last academic year, no subcommittee met more than 3 times during the entire year. And I really think that's something that should be prioritized, because it is a way to draw in community and have debate. The subcommittees are appointed by the chair, I believe. Someone can correct me, yes. And they will be revamped in January, whenever new members are elected. So I think this is an opportunity not only to look at the subcommittees that exist, but also perhaps create new subcommittees based on community involvement. And also, it is possible to create an ad hoc subcommittee if an issue crops up that hasn't been anticipated.
Thank you. And question 6.
It's exhausting. Okay, question 6 is, would I support having the school committee offer an informal forum with 2 members present on a monthly basis that's open to the greater community? I do think that's a solid idea, but I do think that using subcommittees for this type of conversation would be, frankly, better. There's already a structure, there's already a formal way of discussing the ideas. But I would also focus on every school's school council to provide an additional way for families and students to provide their point of view on different issues. School councils are mandated by the state. Every school has to have one. There's an equal number of educators and parents on the committees. On the councils. And the principal and a parent are co-chairs. So they have equal input into what's discussed. The councils are advisory. Nothing they contribute is binding, but I think it is a way to make sure that issues particular to each school are highlighted within that community and hopefully addressed. In addition, when the school councils were established by the state, the idea was that the councils would meet, and the ideas and the debates that arose out of the councils would then feed into the school committee, which I believe by law has oversight responsibilities of these councils. So I think that a combination of stronger subcommittees and more school council involvement and investment in the councils, because they're not always, not every school gives them the same weight. I think that investing in making sure that it's equitable across the district would be very important. And I think I'm flagged, so I am done. Thank you very much.
Richard?
Hi.
Okay. Since I don't know you by sight.
All right. You know me tonight.
I will, okay.
Remind me just of the format, please.
Yes, 4 minutes for your opening statement and 2 minutes each for the 2 questions from the 6 that you have chosen. And which 2 have you chosen?
Tough questions. Looks like I'm going to do 3 and 5, I think.
Okay, 3 and 5. So we are now going to begin, and when you see the green card, if you
Where's
will,
the
go
card?
up, right here.
Oh, right here, okay.
That means you have 20 seconds.
Don't worry, I won't take 3.
Complete.
I promise you.
Okay,
Thank
you
you.
may begin
Thank
whenever
you.
you're ready.
First of all, thank you all for coming. Excuse me. Thank you all for putting this on today. It's my birthday today, so I had a fundraiser. So I was not going to make it. That's why I took the late shift. So I wanted to be with you, but I just had to do my thing. It was already scheduled. So I'm Richard Harding, one of the new members. Although I'm an old member to the school committee, I was elected some time ago. I took 6 years off, and I got re-elected last election. I won by 7 votes. I'm a public health professional by trade. Been at the Public Health Department in Cambridge for 24 years. Vice President of the NAACP. I own a small business in Central Square, Green Soul Cannabis, with my childhood friend who also went to the public school. 4 of us in the group that own the store are Cambridge Ridge and Latin graduates, and I have a daughter, Ciara, who's a proud graduate of Ridge and Latin. I run for school committee in this moment because I don't think that there's ever been a more urgent time to have somebody who's really going to fight for the young people in our district who are not getting what they need, as well as making sure that we're holding the district accountable. We spend $41,000 per pupil. We're not getting what we're paying for. That's the reality of it in any measure. And I have a daughter who had a successful Cambridge public school experience. The problem is that far too many of her friends did not. We have to spend our time and resources making sure that schools are environments where children thrive and that they're the center of the universe, where we have adults who are in the classroom and are committed to making sure that each and every kid reaches their potential without excuses. I think that we're a district that in some places is very good, but we can be great if we really, really commit to the assignment, which is educating all kids at all times at high level. So that would be my opening. And I'd also just say that part of what I realized coming back to the school committee is how much, as much as the policies matter and the other structures, the real issue with the school committee is the execution, right? We're not lost for ideas, we're just lost in the execution, where we've had a lot of things that we've committed to that we just haven't fulfilled the promises of. So I hope to come back to the school committee to help lead a charge with people who think like that, right? People who are really committed to holding people accountable. We have a system in which one school right now where you have 94% of the kids who are failing. And that's the simple talk. And people will sugarcoat it and people will line it with emotions, but that's the reality of 131 parents who are at that school who have a kid who is being failed by the Cambridge Public Schools. And I think that's an indictment on our system. I don't think that it's something that we should take lightly. We have teachers who are paid really, really well. Our average teacher makes $122,000. We pay them. And I would pay them as much money as was necessary to make sure that all kids were educated. But let's not make this seem like we're not taking care of our professional staff, because we are. We are very, very competitive. I don't remember the last time in any contract negotiation the money didn't meet the means in terms of that part of the negotiation. So that's why I'm running for school committee.
Thank you, and you can begin your question.
Yeah, so question 2, right?
Yes.
No, hold on, public. No, not public comment, sorry. Question 3 I want to take. I apologize.
Question 3.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
So
fine.
just to be fair, I couldn't say this in any more certain terms. I hate the fact that we have to have a city councilor just come over by default to be a part of the school committee. It makes absolutely no sense, and here's why. One, as school committee members, whether we win or lose, we speak every day to the people that are going to elect us to try to convince them that we have what it takes to make the school system better and to educate young people and to support public education writ large. Some of the city councilors who are running, they don't even mention anything about education. Why does my side of the aisle have to accept somebody who may not even be interested in public schools? Let's just be fair to it, right? It's an archaic system in which I think is stupid would be a nice word, and it's my birthday, so I'm going to be nice. But I just don't believe that it makes any sense to have a person who maybe isn't even interested in chairing the school committee, but more importantly, hasn't convinced the voters that they are worthy of chairing the school committee. I don't think that this system works, and it damn sure doesn't work for me. I think that the committee should be able to pick their own chair. And someone said earlier, it's actually the vice chair who assigns the committee assignments, not the chair. That being said, though, I do think that some of the other questions here speak to how the chair may run a meeting, right? I was on the school committee before. I was with some seasoned politicians, Fred Fantini and others, who understand, like I do, parliamentary procedure. There's some things that happen at the school committee level that I don't believe are actually in the right parliamentary space. There's some legal things sometimes that they say, oh, this is legal, that I've never heard before. And I've served 7 terms, right? And, you know, there was in public comment when you're talking about a school, but you can't name the school. I mean, that's absolute bullshit. And I think that it's time that we really speak to that as we're, whoever the new school committee is, to make sure that we're changing the rules that make the school committee a place that is better for the public to have dialogue with and us to operate as a body. I'm sorry for going over, I forgot about you.
No, I got distracted.
Yeah?
No, you had a few seconds left,
Yeah.
but now you can move to your next
Yeah.
question. I think you can.
So who's number 5? So number 5, and take number 5 for what I'm saying. This is not an indictment on any of my colleagues. I actually respect all of my colleagues. But I do think there was one thing that really angered me this year, and I was good enough to be able to temper my anger. And this is it, and this goes back to question 3 in a way. On the school committee and on the city council, and you understand it like I do, whenever there's any policy matter, there should be debate. Whether or not the members decide to, it should be their prerogative, right? We want to debate, we don't. You could pass by it, you could have a voice vote. There's many different ways to get through it. However, on a $280 million budget, I believe that you should always have a debate. It's not to say that we didn't talk in roundtables, we had multiple shots at the apple. But what people fail to realize as a school committee member is that each and every day, while the room may have no one in there, I'm speaking to the people who elected me and the people who I serve, right? So even though it's a meeting, there might be 2 or 3 people in the room, we are meeting because we represent the city at large. We run at large, that's who we represent. So when I speak on the school committee, I'm not necessarily speaking to the 2 people in the audience. I'm speaking to the people who I want to hear, or maybe should hear, or maybe want to hear later. And so when you have a $280 million budget, we had not a word of debate on it. I think that's a tragedy, okay, a political tragedy, because even if you just wanted to say why you're voting for the budget, I'm voting for the budget because I think it's great, or like me, I'm not voting for the budget because I don't think it's great, right? You should be able to say that. We did not have one word of debate on the budget. That's a transparency issue for me. That's a public trust issue for me, right? I believe, and that's also a reason why we have to change the rules, because if you're going to spend $250 million, I think we owe it to the good people of Cambridge to say why we love it, why we hate it, or we're in the middle. Last point, in that process, it is built so that you can make amendments. It's built that you can add things to the budget or take them away. That's part of the process. It's legal, it's part of the parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, and how we run our meetings. Thank you. Vote Harding number 1, and vote for everybody 2. Thank you all. I apologize, I just made you attack.
And
So.
happy birthday.
Thank you.
And your sacrifice is duly noted for our constituents. Louisa. I know you're here. Good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, you can begin your time now.
Sweet, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Luisa de Paula Santos. I'm a recent paraprofessional in Cambridge. I am a union organizer, a current MTA member, like Carrie, and the only current pre-K through 12 public school educator on the ballot. I also have a background in urban policy and planning with a focus on democratic governance. I'm running for school committee because I've seen from the inside how our system is not working well. I might even say failing. I've seen brilliant students left behind, dedicated educators retaliated against for speaking up, and a culture of top-down decision-making that ignores the experts in our classrooms. My mission is to transfer power. Power from the central office back to our classrooms. Power from the unaccountable administrators to the educators, caregivers, and students. How? By fighting for tax justice to fully fund our schools, by implementing participatory governance measures so that those closest to the problems have a direct say in school policymaking, and by instituting 360-degree evaluations to finally hold administrators accountable to the staff and families that they serve. I don't just bring ideas, I bring the lived experience of the crisis. I, like many others, know what it's like to be silenced by a system that protects itself, and I know that we have the resources to solve this. We just lack the political will. That's why I'm endorsed by the CEA, Our Revolution, and the Cambridge Residents Alliance. Real change requires a collaborative majority. That's why I'm asking for your #1 vote and for you to rank the other educator-endorsed candidates. Together we can build a school system that is equitable, inclusive, and empowers every member of our community to succeed.
Thank you. And which questions have you chosen?
Numbers 1 and 4.
1 and 4, so you can begin with 1.
Thank you. As a former CEA member and building rep, my relationship with the union isn't something I need to establish. It's one that I've already built and still have strong connections to. The first step is to stop seeing the CEA as a group to be managed and start seeing them as the essential partners that they are. My first official act will be to publicly pledge to never undermine job actions and to use the school committee's platform to amplify CEA's demands during contract negotiations. Second, I will fight for structural power sharing. That means creating a non-voting CEA seat on the school committee with full access to materials and the right to set agenda items. It means making union contract compliance a key metric in superintendent and principal evaluations. And third, I will practice deep transparency. I will push to share all relevant financial data with the CEA before bargaining begins, before budgets are discussed, because you can't have a collaborative relationship when one side hides the facts. This isn't about a better relationship, but about sharing power with the workers who make our schools run.
Okay, and the next question?
Thank you.
You may begin.
A reasonable turnaround time, as Jane said, is as soon as humanly possible, with a formal system to guarantee it. I feel like the current silence right now from school committee members is a form of gatekeeping. I will pledge to acknowledge all emails within 24 hours and to provide a substantive response or a timeline for one within 72 hours, but that's the bare minimum. True engagement isn't just responding to emails, it's about being proactive, like others have said. That's why I will continue going to the community by door knocking, developing relationships with community leaders, and holding regular rotating office hours at block parties in our schools and in community centers, on evenings and weekends to meet people where they are. And when I hear a concern, my job isn't just to listen, it's to act on those concerns. I will systematically track common issues and bring them forward as policy orders, turning individual frustration into collective action. We must move from a committee that is distant and reactive to one that is accessible, transparent, and driven by the needs of our community. I'm wondering if I can make a closing remark since I have time.
Yes.
Sorry. I just want to say we've heard a lot of ideas tonight. To reiterate, feel like I offer something different, the lived experience and proven track record of fighting for power and resources for the under-resourced. I'm Louisa. My campaign for school committee is based on one principle, that our schools work when the people in them have the power to make them work. I ask for your #1 vote to bring that frontline perspective to the school committee. Check out my website, louisaforschoolcommittee.org, and let's build the schools that our kids deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to clarify that Louisa did not use her full 2 minutes for the last question, which is why she made an opening remark, because we did have to cut that from our original program. The Queen. Welcome. And what questions have you chosen?
I'm going to do 1 and 2.
She's chosen questions 1 and 2, so we can be prepared as well as herself, and the floor is yours.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to the League of Women Voters here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, as well as across the United States and the world. I do know that you have wonderful and beautiful alumni, such as former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, Hillary Clinton, Shirley Chisholm, and Lady Bird Johnson. So thank you so much for allowing us, all of us here, for running for Cambridge CPSD School Committee candidates to be here tonight. So it's an honor to be here in this presence. My name is LaQueen Battle. I'm originally from Fort Worth, Texas, and I am a proud daughter of a single father, Larry Battle, who just celebrated his wedding after 20 years looking for this special person, and he finally was married this year, so I'm very grateful to be here tonight. I do believe that we, at this moment in our time's history here in the United States, and especially here in the city of Cambridge, we should be united together as a community. I've lived in Chicago, Southside Chicago. I've lived in upstate New York. I've lived in California, San Francisco, Los Angeles. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Florida. I've worked with such great healthcare professionals as Dr. Tony Hampton in Southside Chicago. I've worked with Dr. Philip Carrillo in Tampa, Florida. I've worked with Dr. Hung Dong Nguyen in Dallas, Texas. And all of this is telling us is that we should be united, not divided, especially when it comes to us being progressives, as well as especially when it comes to the needs of the children. And so Cambridge is one of the highest income per capita in the world, if not in the United States. And especially when it comes to Ivy League institutions such as Harvard, MIT, Bentley. Just last night, we just had a candidate forum at Lesley University. There are schools all over here just in this square by square mile radius for students to come here, not just residential students, but students from all around the world come here to take advantage of the schools and of the opportunities that the city of Cambridge does have. And I do believe that the students should be afforded the same opportunity, but a lot of the students, especially when it comes to primary and secondary education, are not afforded those same opportunities. Maybe because there's a cultural barrier, maybe because there's a language barrier, maybe because there's an income barrier. Whatever kind of barrier there is, they still are not afforded that same opportunity. And in fact, it does discourage me that there's only one public high school in the city of Cambridge, which is CRLS. I do believe that, especially with the opportunity to go to such prestigious schools like Harvard and MIT, that there should be more diversity, especially in the public school institution, rather than just CRLS. And that is something that I do believe in. As well as with CRLS, I do believe that it does have great graduation rates. It does have, they should work on increasing student attendance, and it should also work on the student budget. Thank you.
And question 1, we begin the timing.
Okay, so what would be the steps that I would take as an individual member to establish a working relationship? Okay, so right now the CEA has, they are trying to work on establishing a budget within CPSD. There's been many issues working right now. The primary issue, of course, is electing a superintendent. That search has been over the past 6 months. They just now reelected David Murphy. That was another big issue, as was, of course, the language cultural barrier issue was another issue. And of course, student attendance rates, graduation rates. Trying to get students into the classroom, that's also an issue that needs to be addressed. I would per se work with establishing better office hours with the CEA, helping them to establish more positive relationships with the student board, helping people to encourage them to attend more school board meetings, helping teachers to become more involved in the parent-teacher relationship, and allow them to help their students to be encouraged to know that they do have the opportunity to have a voice within the student body and within the school board meetings. So that is
okay. Thank you. And question 2, we begin the time.
with community engagement beyond public comment. Public comment is a really personal time for people in the public to come together to voice their concerns about how they feel about what's going on in the public school system. There was another issue that a parent, she was of another different language, and she really couldn't communicate with the school board on how she felt about her student attending the school meeting. It was very emotional for the parent that the school board did not understand how she felt about her particular issue at the time. I do believe that 3 minutes is not enough for public school board discussion. I would prioritize engagement outside formal meetings, encouraging school visits. I've had the opportunity to attend King Open and visit the staff there at King Open. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the other staff and to know them that they do have issues that does need to be addressed. Like Mr. Harding was saying, the school budget is a really big issue that not a lot of people are talking about. I do believe that we should hold more public discussions, hold more community coffees, hold more neighborhood association visits, as well as encourage open emails, encourage social media. I'm very big on social media. It might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing, but letting the public know, letting parents know that they have every opportunity available for them, the students and the teachers to be able to have open communication and open dialogue between what is really going on in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And that is something that we really want.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm a graduate of Purdue University and the City Colleges of Chicago, as well as have the opportunity to work at Franklin Elementary School in Newman as an ISS teacher. So I'm very, I do assist to support students with special needs. God bless you.
Thank you. Well, I believe we have come to the conclusion of tonight's conversation with your future, potential, hopeful school committee members. And again, I would certainly be remiss if we did not acknowledge the Cambridge Public Television who is here tonight providing the community service, as well as certainly the Cambridge Public Library Central Square branch. Was an adventure for me to find it, although I do live in Jamaica Plain and isn't too far away. And I do want to conclude this evening with just a couple of brief comments, and I see that we have actually made our time limit. So again, some of you may have noticed the button that I am wearing that is not to call for information to the telephone system of 411. This is Vote 411. The League of Women Voters of the U.S. as well as us in the state of Massachusetts. This is a voter resource on the web. I encourage you to take a look at it. It will give you a lot of information around voting deadlines and things of that nature. You also, your other resource, of course, is the Secretary of State's office, which is in charge of all voting across the state and is a wealth of information for you as well. I remind all voters that the registration deadline is October 25th. There are 3 forms of voting in Massachusetts. One, of course, is a mail-in ballot. They have already gone out in many instances. There is early voting that will be beginning shortly if it has not already. And, of course, there is in-person voting on November 4th. So, again, I want to encourage all of us to exercise that right. And while some of you may wonder, well, the League of Women Voters, do we have males and people of other gender identification as members? Yes, we do. We have not changed our name across time, although the issue has come forward. Why? Because the fight for women's suffrage was long and hard. People had character assassination, people died, there were hunger strikes, if you kind of look at your history. And so across time, we are sensitive to that, but we felt very strongly that we would retain our name for that reason. And while women did gain suffrage rights a little over 100 years ago, I'm going to remind us all, it was white women who gained the right to vote. Women of other cultures, ethnicities, skin color did not gain that right until the Voting Rights Act in the early 1960s. It is not that long ago. And we need to all be vigilant about not only the Voters' Rights Act, but our constitutional rights as well, because the League does not just concentrate on voting, but also citizen advocacy, education, and rights. And so I urge all of us who are able to register to vote, if you have not, please do so, and choose one of those 3 ways in which you can exercise your vote as well. And I will remind you that in this state, you do not need an identification to vote unless you are a new voter or you are voting for the first time. So again, all of us, this is a night to celebrate our democracy, our Constitution, and in the city of Cambridge, your very unique approach to ranked choice voting. Thank you all.
Thank you, card. This is one of might be one of the last debates between all of us, between City Council and School Committee. So I just want to pray for the protection of all the candidates until November 4th and beyond. Thank you to the Women Leaders voters here in Cambridge. I wanted to buy flowers, but thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here in Cambridge. God bless you all. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Everyone, please take some more food before you leave. Thank you everyone for coming. That was really great.